if you really want to find love, if you really want to have that connection and have a woman feel safe, you need to be in your heart, not in your head. And for most men, we don't know how to be in our heart. Like, it's still a daily practice for me to get out of my head, get into my heart, and allow myself to be more receptive.
I was just talking with a girlfriend of mine about that, and I said, I feel like I'm fucking this up for myself. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, because the more inner work I do, the higher the bar is getting for my expectation for myself and a future partner.
Yeah.
And I have doubts of like, is there going to be somebody out there? Is what I'm looking for impossible, kind of? But I've really been looking forward to this conversation for some of the reasons that you chatted about, because I feel like I get to, if you're going to allow us to like peel back the curtain and look inside the mind of a conscious man. Are we going to go there today?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, cool. So no pressure. I am asking you to speak on behalf of half the human race.
Yeah,
for all men.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's all men, because, they're the unconscious men, and then they're the men that are living a more conscious life with intention. And just like there's unconscious women and conscious women, right? So I think I represent a sliver of the demographic, but of course I'm happy to share from both sides, because I was unconscious for 40-ish years of my life, right? So I know what it's like to live life from that place also.
Can we go back to your childhood for a minute?
Okay, sure. Wait.
We're gonna go way back. We're gonna come back to the relationship stuff and dive into that. I for sure want to go as deep as we can go in on that, and I think it's valuable for the listeners who don't know who you are, just to have a bit of context for who you are. So, can you share a little bit about? We won't dive deep into it, but just kind of your career pathway. And then I've got some questions about your childhood that we'll dig into.
Yeah. So I got into nightlife at a fairly young age. At 18, after leaving high school, I got a job in clubs and just really found the bright lights of the big city, found stuff I loved. I'm like, wow, I'm going to get paid to go out and dance and party. Sounds good. So, I really gravitated towards the nightlife and hospitality industry, and started as a dancer, promoter, bartender, manager, eventually opening my first restaurant in 2003, my own club in 2004. And then it was business after business. Opened 12 companies over 15 years, which included nightclubs, restaurants, spa, hair salon, music festival, health supplements, a number of different companies. And that provided me with a really awesome life, and traveled the world. I really lived an amazing, I did pretty much everything a single man could want to do, and it was really amazing, rewarding, lucrative in many ways, but I kind of outgrew it. I got to a point where I didn't love it anymore. But I'm very proud of what I created, and we had amazing venues, and and then one day I woke up and decided I didn't want to be that guy anymore.
So is it fair to call those years your unconscious years?
For sure. Yeah, because even when I look at my business trajectory, had I been more conscious and intentional with how we were even growing our businesses, I would have done it very differently. I was just opening businesses almost, I don't want to say for fun, but just because it was like, hey, it was kind of easy. We were on such a roll and had amazing momentum. And we were really pioneers in many different industries in Toronto. So had I been more conscious and intentional, I probably wouldn't have opened up as many companies. I would have had less partners, and I would have built the business with more infrastructure and stability.
That's interesting. Okay. Now this is where I want to go back to your childhood. I'm curious. Yeah. So you were really driven from a young age, right? Like you were like 18 and got into nightlife and then went there. What was it about your childhood or adolescent years that lent itself to you going down that path?
My parents were, my mom was a secretary. My dad was a courier, immigrants from Pakistan. We owned our own little modest bungalow. My parents did their best to put food on the table and a roof over our head and very basic clothes on our back. And I I wanted more than basic. I have always had a love for fashion and fancy cars, and I knew that the life that I wanted, my parents weren't going to be able to provide me with. I am a manifester. I'm
Mm,
also a triple Leo. So I like nice things. I'm very creative and I know how to make shit happen. So I have been entrepreneurial from a young age because anything I've wanted to create, I've just gone for it and made it happen. So I wouldn't say I'm monetarily driven. I'm more, well, now I'm definitely more impact driven, but back then it was more
mm,
about, hey, I want to travel and I want to eat in amazing restaurants and I want to like wear really nice clothes and
mhm,
that's what really um I wouldn't say that's what drove me, but that was like the byproduct of my hard work. What really drove me was I love creating and I love coming up with new ideas. And like if we're
mm,
creating a new venue, I could walk in the room and I could see the venue, I could hear the people and the music, I could smell the food a year before we even open our doors. I just have that ability to visualize and manifest. So for me, the creative process is actually what I enjoyed the most.
mm,
And then the money and the clothes and cars and food and all that came as a result of just putting out really great
mm,
experiences and products in the world.
mhm. Okay, let's talk about the ladies during that time, because you
Sure.
said you lived sort of like 40-ish years of your life sort of unconscious, and you can share with us a perspective of a man that
Yeah.
is viewing life through that lens. So, what is a man that is unconscious? You don't, maybe it's you, maybe it's just men in general.
Yeah.
What are they looking for, or what is exciting to them in terms of dating women?
Yes, so this ties back to my childhood as well. So one thing to mention is growing up, I got bullied and picked on and didn't really feel like I
Mm,
fit in. So
mm,
part of what also drove me to be center of spotlight and have all these beautiful places is like now you need me. Before I wanted to be chosen
mm,
by you, but now you need me. So now
mm,
I'm the guy that everybody wanted to come to. And I didn't realize at the time, but it was so much a part of my identity. So the traumatic childhood experiences I had, which most kids go through, getting bullied and picked on and whatnot, really drove me to be larger than life. So just like it affected, I would say, how I want to show up with the fancy car and the designer clothes, it also affected the women I dated. So I've always loved women. I'm a very sexual person. I'm a Leo. I'm a fire sign. I love beautiful things, beautiful
mm,
cars, beautiful clothes, beautiful women. And in that career, I had an endless supply of beautiful women who wanted to spend time with me, be with me, just hang out, whether it be for the free vodka, whether it be to, I've treated my girlfriends very well, beautiful trips, clothes, gifts, all kinds of stuff because I'm generous in that sense. And I would say that I've been very driven by aesthetics, and in my relationships, I've dated very beautiful women who are also very, very sweet. Like my ex girlfriends are amazing. I'm still friends with most of them, and they are incredible, beautiful women inside and out. And my relationships lacked a depth and intimacy
mm,
because I didn't know how to go deep with my partners because I couldn't go deep with myself. Because
mm,
I grew up in a household where my parents didn't really talk to my brother and I about things of significance. They didn't ask us, hey, like I heard you got bullied at school. How are you feeling? Or I heard you and your girlfriend broke up. Like, how's your heart? Are you okay? Like, my parents
mm,
were fighting so much between each other that they didn't have the space to speak to us. And also, my parents grew up in a culture where they didn't really talk about their feelings. My
mm,
mom is the child of an affair who grew up with many, many siblings from mixed marriages, mixed families. So she didn't have that intimacy and that safety at home for her to open up and share. And my father, Muslim man from Pakistan, his dad never said, hey, son, tell me about your emotions. How are you feeling? So I
mhm,
grew up with two parents who didn't know how to talk to each other and didn't know how to talk to my brother and I.
mm,
So I didn't know how to talk to my partners. So if my girlfriend did something that annoyed me or made me jealous or insecure, I wouldn't talk to her about it. I would just create this list in my head of all the
mm,
things she did that pissed me off. And then one day I'd sit her down and be like, "Look, babe, it's not working out. And,
mm,
I think like this just isn't the right fit." But what I would do is I would check out of the relationship weeks or months before, and this is what an avoidant does, right? I would create the list of all the reasons why I don't want to be with her. I would emotionally detach. And then a month later, I would drop the bomb on her and just like, see you later. I'm out of here, you know? And then I would distract myself with other women because I wouldn't want to feel the pain, you know?
Mm.
And I didn't know how to express myself. So that was a pattern that went over and over again. So it was either I was very single and dating lots of really beautiful women at the same time, or I was very committed and in a relationship and all in, and often living with my partners. But I always thought that I'd be married by 40. I thought, you know, I love children. I love the idea of having a wife. But again, because of my blockages of growing up with two parents who slept in separate bedrooms and
Mm.
a very toxic example of a marriage, as much as I said I wanted a marriage, there was part of me that deep subconsciously were like, hell no, marriage
Like, I don't
equals
want that. Yeah.
don't do it, you know? So I could say that there's several of my ex-girlfriends that I could have married. I see them now as wives and mothers. I'm like, damn, that could like that could have been us, but my deep psychological
Mm.
programming trauma blocked that, you know? So I this is why I say I didn't have the intention and the consciousness to really and the ability to develop those relationships uh, on a deeper level to create something more significant. So my
Mm.
relationships had never been longer than 1 to 2 years in length. I've never been with a woman longer than 2 years. And
Mhm.
again, that's because the relationships only ever got they were superficial in a sense that we liked each other and we had a great time together and we got along and we lived together, but it never went deeper to like, let's get into the deep shit
Mm.
now. Let's get into the issues. Like, where are you struggling? Where am I struggling? Can we hold space for each other in that struggle and love all parts of one another? But
Mm.
again, I wouldn't ever let my partner know what my shadow parts were because
Mm.
I didn't even know what they were, you know, and that is, I would say, the big missing in my previous relationships that I've discovered through doing my personal development work. And
Mm.
I think that's where most relationships get sabotaged is two people get together before they've healed their own shit. And as we know,
Mm.
you're going to attract a partner that's going to trigger all of the unresolved trauma. And unless you can hold space for one another and work through that together, you're going to trigger the shit out of each other. If you don't invest in the personal development tools,
Mm.
you're not going to know how to handle it. You're going to get divorced a few years later, or you're going to have kids and then get divorced 10 years later, living in resentment most of that time. And then you're going to find someone else and you're going to go through it again and again and again because
Mhm.
the universe will keep sending you the people and the experiences that you need to heal your shit. So that's why, you know, even though I'm 49 and I'm still single, I am glad I've waited because it's taken me this long to really get to know who I am. And how are you supposed to know who you want to spend the rest of your life with if you don't even know who you are? You know, and that's where I see most marriages fall apart. And, you know, I coach a lot of people who are going through separation or considering it. And I hear the same thing over and over and over again. You know, they're not who they were when they got married, and the other
Mhm.
partner doesn't want to evolve with them, or they've
Mhm.
evolved, they just don't connect anymore, right? And that's why at
Mhm.
the beginning it's so important to have that relatability and that shared foundation so that you can build upon that together.
There's so much there I wanna touch on. So,
I went on a
th
rant there, but
no, this is so good. Thank you for being so transparent. I'm
always.
excited. Um, if you go back to the you that you were in the relationships at that time and you were recognizing did you recognize at the time that there wasn't a depth there? Were you, like, hungry for that and missing that, or could you just totally not see it?
You know, my life was so wild, like traveling the world, amazing parties, like I literally lived the life of a celebrity, you know, and it didn't matter to me. You know, I was in my 30s and life was just amazing. I had a beautiful girl on my arm, had a fancy car, great businesses. It's like we don't really stop and question like what's missing or what's wrong until the shit hits the fan.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and that's how most people, especially people with money, that's how most of them are living. It's like if they feel a bit depressed, yeah, let's go down to Gucci, buy a new outfit, or oh man, I'm feeling bummed about that breakup, let's go to Miami. You know, it's like when you have money and resources, it's very easy to numb and distract yourself from the pain. It's only when the shit hit the fan for me after turning 40 that I was like, wow, I don't want to keep repeating these patterns and wake up at 50 in the same place. I need to figure out what's going on. And it took
Mm,
the situation getting bad enough that I had to really take a step back and say, okay, what's going on here? Because clearly it's not them. I've dated 6 or 7 amazing women.
mm,
I'm the common denominator in here. So where's the problem, you know?
yeah.
And um, I knew I didn't know how to communicate. And I knew that there was something missing in, at first I used to blame them. She's just not the right one. It's this, it's that. She's too much this. She's not enough of that. And I would do that over and over and over again. But then I would see them move on and be with new partners and be happy and see a whole different side and be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. They weren't like that with me. Huh. Okay.
Mm,
And it just, you have to be honest with yourself and take ownership and be willing to look like, okay, where am I not showing up?
mm,
Where am I? Where is there room for me to grow and evolve so that I can be the partner
mm,
that my dream woman wants to be with,
mm,
and that's when my journey really began, is after, turning 40 and just realizing, like, if I want to find my partner, if I want to find the one, I need to become the one. And I got a
mm.
lot of work to do if I want to be the one, so that's really what's been my journey the last 9 years. It's just my growth and development to become, like, if I want to be with a queen, I got to be a king.
Mm.
So, to go from being a joker to a king, you got a lot of work to do.
Let me get out of this circus here and let me figure out what's going on. Um, you said something about, well, I'm just thinking about this idea of evolution, right? And change and growth and personal development. And I think we're never done. Like, we're never done growing, we're never done evolving, and it's become one of my core tenets of a future partner and my friends, just that I am with somebody that is growth minded, because I've also seen it happen, and it happened in me in my past relationship, that I began to change and evolve so much and the other person didn't. And they're a great human being. But I just believe through the course, especially if you want a long term partner, if you're not both changing and finding a way to be curious about each other over and over and over, I just don't think the relationship can survive. So then it's sort of this paradox of, because I'm sort of in a similar place of, okay, who am I becoming? So how can I attract this person? But then also understanding that the relationship becomes a container for growth, because the relationship is where, like you said, the triggers are still going to come up. But if we
Yeah.
see them as an opportunity and as a gift, then we're like, okay, we've chosen to commit to step into this container together and evolve together and respond and help each other heal and all, and be mirrors and all of that stuff. But finding that balance, or not living in the story that, well, I haven't arrived yet and I haven't fixed enough, so I can't date because I just got to figure all my shit out. It's like, you'll never have it all figured out, but where's the balance there?
And even when you think you have it figured out, you think, oh, last 3 years I've done so much growth. This is amazing. And then your relationship is like, oh, then it all hits you. I mean, it's in a relationship that we really get to see, like, okay, how much of what we've learned is actually embodied? How
Mm,
much of what we learned in the retreat, in the plant medicine ceremony, in the coaching, how much of it has actually stuck? And I went through that personally, where over the last 5 years, I've dated some amazing women. Like, they are, with each relationship, I get closer and closer to really finding that unicorn, and I can see my old patterns coming up, and, my old ways of being, and the blockages that I've carried with me
mm,
for 40 plus years. Those come up in relationship. And to your point, and this is why a lot of women are having a real challenge finding a partner, is because women are more open to personal development. It's no
mm,
surprise that women are more heart-centered, more
mm.
emotional, more mature in many ways, because, like, guys, for most of our years, we're running around, thinking with our other head, and we're very, and it's true. Like, I often tell, like, my girlfriends who are a bit younger, I say, men are morons till 40. And I know that because I was a moron till 40. And what I mean by that is just my priorities were completely messed up. I was very ego driven. I was very
Mm,
performance driven, and it served me well. However, um, if you really want to find love, if you really want to have that connection and have a woman feel safe, you need to be in your heart, not in your head.
Mm,
You know, and for most men, we don't know how to be in our heart. Like, it's still a daily practice for me to get out of my head, get into my heart, and
mm,
allow myself to be more receptive. And women are open to doing the personal development work. They are by far, like, when I go to a lot of these spiritual conscious events, or even a lot of my retreats, are predominantly women. I mean, now my retreats are 50-50, and going to some events like Dr. Joe Dispenza, uh,
mm,
you'll see a room that's 50-50, which is great to see, because as women evolve and they grow and they get deeper on their path, they need their partner to meet them. They need them to match, not necessarily step for step, but at least show the interest, show that you want to grow and evolve, because a woman will be patient and she'll hold space
mm.
and support you if you're willing to do the work. But some men are like, that's meditation bullshit. No, that's spiritual woo woo, whatever. Like, let me go fire guns or play football or something. And there's nothing wrong with firing guns and playing football. However, if you want to connect with your woman, you have to tap into those feminine energy qualities within you. You have to
Mm.
be able to connect to those feminine elements that exist in all of us, because that is where you'll be able to meet your partner, and there, that is where a connection can happen. And
Do
same,
you
sorry.
sorry, I was going to ask, do you think men, this is kind of a silly question, but maybe it's not. Do you think men want to connect on that level? Because my perception has been, and maybe that's conscious versus unconscious, but to me, when I think about what, I don't know if it was John Wineland or David Data or some of these teachers out there, even Joe Dispenza, and just this idea of consciousness and being very intimately connected. Like the feminine
Mhm.
really wants to be seen and known and have had space held for her. But I'm like, I'm trying to perceive, do men want that? Or are they kind of like, I'm good if I just have like a playmate?
Yeah. So I think all men and all humans want it. I just think that some men don't actually know they want it because they've never had that. The
Mm,
closest thing to nurturing and a deep connection they've ever had is with their mom, if they had it. I didn't have that all of my life. I had it in my early years, but then for a lot of my development years, I didn't have that loving, nurturing um, care from my mom, for her own reasons. And I think a lot of men, because they've never had that connection, they don't know that they actually desire that. And also, I feel men sometimes think that if they give into that, they're going to lose their freedom. Men want their
mm,
freedom. Men want their time alone. Men want to be able to go out, fulfill their purpose, go and do what they need to do in the world. And they also do enjoy intimacy when they're open to it, when they allow themselves to be intimate and
mm,
surrender and just connect from the heart. The men that have experienced it love it, because I've I've studied and been a part of some tantra experiences and couples tantra, and I've seen that deep intimacy happen when men who are more in their head, you know, drop into their heart and are open to exercises that really connect them and their partner on a really beautiful, intimate level. So even from my own personal experience, there are some things that activities and exercises I've been a part of that really allowed me to just surrender to the divine feminine and be held and be cherished and be
mm,
nurtured and cared for. I was like, wow, I didn't
mm,
know I need this. Like,
mm,
I didn't know, like, this is actually how I crave to be cared for.
mm,
Because again, a lot of my relationships didn't have that intimacy, right? So I believe that as humans, we all want intimacy. We all want to be cared for like that. And if you don't, there's a deep trauma there. There is something that's holding you back, because you may feel like, if I allow someone to care for me like that and take care of me, what if they leave? What if I don't
mm,
have that anymore? So some people don't want to surrender to that type of love and intimacy, because either they don't think they're good enough, or they think it's not real and they're going to lose it. Because at some
mhm.
point, maybe you got that from your mom and then your mom left.
I feel
Maybe
like
not.
everything we love, we lose no matter what, one way or another. And I think it's a reality I've come to in my life that has allowed me the freedom to love in a different way, right? One thing, speaking of freedom, that I wanted to come back to, I heard one teacher, I can't remember who it was, describe that he had said, I want freedom, and he was resisting like a committed relationship because he had viewed that freedom was like I could just do whatever I want with all the people and all the things, which for some people that's great, do your thing. But he said as he got into the committed relationship and then eventually got married, that was the first time he actually felt freedom because he had everything he wanted right there, and he
Mhm.
wasn't seeking and chasing anymore, and how liberating that freedom was. And then to your point about that kind of intimacy and love, that then he also felt the nourishment of the feminine,
Yeah.
which is so, I mean, as I've been doing my inner work and tapping into, not even tapping into, cultivating that, I can feel that within myself and imagine what that feels like for the masculine to have the feminine sort of wash over,
Mm. Yeah.
and that there's freedom and liberation within that. But I don't know if people aren't experiencing it, that like how tangible that idea is.
Yeah. And I think the big disconnect is lack of communication, because people don't know how to really consciously speak to one another and express themselves
Mm.
in a way that has both people feel safe to really open up. So, the common narrative is, oh, you get married and your life is over. Your wife is going to drive you like a slave. You're going to have to, all your life's going to go, your kids and this and that. Like, there's a very negative connotation to marriage. And I'll be honest, a lot of my friends are like, you're single, or like people I meet, bro, don't get married. Like, don't get married. Like, you'll lose your life. Like, you live the best life right now. Like, don't get married. You're not going
Just
to do
might as well crawl up on a cross and die.
it.
It's
And,
like,
and again, part of my blockage to really going all in with a partner and wanting to get married is I grew up with a mom who said, when you kids are old enough, I'm out of here. And being married to your father is like being in jail. And when you kids are,
mm,
um, if it wasn't for you kids, I wouldn't be here. So I grew up with the understanding that marriage equals jail. And that's been embedded in my mind on a deep subconscious level. And for a
mm,
lot of people, that's true. Now, I know that time alone, time in nature, time for me to do what I need to do to fulfill my dharma, my purpose is absolutely essential. My partner wants to see me thrive. My
mhm,
partner wants to see me be a king and show up as my greatest self every day. And it's in communication that you can design your marriage such that, okay,
mm,
what do you need for me to feel nourished and feel supported? Let me know how I can support you and show up. And this is what I need. And even if your partner wants to go away for 2 weeks on a solo trip into nature, because that's what he needs to do, you may not like the idea of him going away. But if he needs that because he's going to come back a more whole, complete,
mm,
fulfilled version of himself for you, for your kids, for the world, then let him go do that. Don't be jealous. Don't be insecure. Give him that space. You give him that space, he's going to come back. He's going to do everything he needs to do for you. And if he
mm,
doesn't, then you're with someone who is not considerate,
mm,
and maybe not compassionate enough. But I feel where a lot of marriages break down is each person in the relationship don't clearly communicate their needs and are open to accommodating one another's needs.
mm,
They just assume that, oh, this is going to make you happy, or you need this, or they base their assumptions based on the needs that person maybe needed 5 or 10 years ago, but they're a different person now. So I feel that conscious communication and really being able to talk about what you need to feel fulfilled and nourished is a big missing in a lot of
yeah,
relationships. And
yeah.
when two people can have a conversation about that without judgment, without criticism, without jealousy, really beautiful things can be created from that place.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Um, there was something I was going to say. What were you? Conscious communication. I don't remember. I want to delve into, if we can, some of this masculine. Oh, what I was going to say about that.
Mm.
The communicating needs, I feel like one of the things it brings up for me, that as I've been delving into the masculine feminine piece, is that the masculine will set boundaries with the feminine. And so that's something that I think for strong independent women, if you haven't started to do the work, you're like, there's a resistance to that, but there's also this craving for it, even if you're unaware. It's kind of crass, but whatever. What did you say, a triple Leo? So I think you'll be okay with this. But I think like 50 Shades of Grey is no kidding. Like no matter how strong independent a woman is, there was a reason that that became such a thing, because there's a desire in the feminine for there to be like a boundary and a firmness and a whatever it is. So for a man in a relationship to say, I'm going to go away for 2 weeks because this is what I need, women, I think consciously or subconsciously, and even very women that are like in their feminine, will test that. And I
Yeah.
had a guy once ask me, like, do women test like it was a negative thing? And then it got me thinking about it. And then I was doing all this reading and I'm like, oh, we do. But it's because I want to know how hard I can push against you and how steady and consistent and clear and grounded you are.
Mm.
Because then once I know that, then I'm safe to be like, okay, I can
Exactly.
relax here because he's holding the space and he's being clear. And
Mhm.
there's something that's very like yummy about a man that is like, no, we're not going to do that. Or like, this is what I need right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly is the masculine energy is the frame. It is a frame,
Mm,
it is the structure of the container, and the feminine energy is the magic, the passion that flows within it. And
mm,
if a woman doesn't feel the safety of the frame, the structure, then she can't trust you, and she's not going to surrender. And that's why women will
mm.
test the boundaries and see, like, okay, she may not like what you have to say. Like, I'm going away for 2 weeks. It's what I need. I'll see you when I get back. She may not like to hear that, but she's like, okay, you
She's
go
like,
do
damn,
this.
when
Yeah.
you come back, I will be ready.
And a lot of men will lie. They won't tell the truth. They'll
Mm,
be wishy-washy about things. And because there's a lack of integrity and men aren't necessarily grounded in their word and will communicate with directness, that creates a lack of safety and mistrust. And then a woman, if she doesn't trust her partner and then she has to start fending for herself, she's now stepping into her masculine. And as a woman embodies more of her masculine, she becomes less attractive to a masculine man who wants to be with a feminine, and that is why it's so important that men speak clearly and say what they need and don't accommodate, don't like say what she wants to hear even though it's not what you want,
mhm.
because women find a man who is speaking his truth and living his purpose very, very attractive. Like, that's
Yeah.
what has her drawn to him, because again,
Mhm.
the masculine is the provider, the protector, the frame, and the woman, even though she wants her independence, she also wants to know that she can surrender and not have to make decisions and not have to think about logistics. And,
Mm.
she just wants to surrender,
Just,
be in her divine feminine flow, and she's going to treat that man like a king, but you got to show
yeah.
up like a king. You got to have honor
I
like a king. Mhm.
Mhm. I think one of the things that comes to mind too as you're saying that is like being impeccable with your word. You know, the book Four Agreements, but this just, it's little ways. I find myself in very, I'm going to out myself right now, okay?
Mhm.
Even in setting up this call, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, does he have the link? Is he going to show up? Like, and it's not about you. There's still like a thing in me that I'm like, I've had plenty of people, including men, that have seemed grounded that just have not followed through on some of the smallest things that
Mhm.
creates a lack of trust. And
Mhm.
when somebody just does what they say they're going to do in a very simple way, or if we're talking about dating and he's like, okay, I'll pick you up at this time, or I'd like to plan the date. And then he actually plans it.
Yeah.
That all of those things, it doesn't take long for a woman to like let down her shields and go, oh, he's trustworthy. And
Mhm.
it's not necessarily about lying. It's about is he consistent? Can
Yeah.
I let my guard down and not feel like I have to show up in my masculine and go, okay, don't worry about it, I'll plan it, or don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Instantly, that puts you, especially for a woman that has overdeveloped that muscle, it is so easy to jump back into that. And it's taken me, I'll speak for my experience, it's taken me a couple 2 years now to be able to like not have that be my knee jerk. And still I have these little moments of like, do I need to jump in here? And it's a conscious effort every day to be like, no, like, don't jump in here.
Yeah.
Surrender in this moment and let people show up for you. But that's kind of the what comes first, the chicken or the egg. So
Mhm.
if I just, sometimes to me, it almost feels like I'm being aloof because I'm so used to I'm adept at being in control in my leadership position and whatever. So if I just let things happen, it feels uncomfortable. But what I have found is that the masculine shows up. Like when I surrender and when I soften, the resource is there, the support is there, the framework is there, but it's a circle. It's a cyclical thing.
Yeah, and it's something I hear often from my female friends. Like most of my closest friends are women, and I hear the struggles and challenges they go through with dating, where a lot of men are just very wishy washy. Like you said, they'll say something, but then they don't follow through. Or even in asking a woman out, it's like, hey, so like you want to hang out together sometime? I'd be like, no. Are you free this Friday? I'd like to take you out for dinner. Okay, great. What kind of food do you like? Italian? Great. I have an amazing Italian restaurant I'm going to take you to. 9 o'clock, I'll be there to pick you up. Do you need anything else? Okay, perfect. See you Friday, 9 o'clock. That's it, you
Oh
know?
my gosh. And
And
that
then
like melts a woman. That it's just, it doesn't take a lot, but that's like,
easy.
wow.
Yeah. And then, regardless of how the date goes, send a text or send a voice note after. Hey, say, thank you so much for making time to have dinner with me. I really enjoyed your company,
Mm,
and just wishing you a good night. I'll speak to you soon. Just that simple follow up means so much because,
mm,
and again, I'm speaking. Everything I'm sharing is coming from me learning about what I could have done different in my past
mm,
relationships and dating. I I coach and I speak from a place of me learning from my own mistakes. So what I'm
mm,
sharing is what I wished I knew in my 20s and 30s. Okay. So,
mm,
and then there are times where maybe you go on a date and you realize, like, you know what, I don't feel it. I don't think I want to see this person again. Let them know. Let them know and say, hey, you know what? It was really great meeting you. And I enjoyed dinner. I loved our conversation. And I just want to be honest with you. I didn't feel a connection. I'm totally open to staying friends, but I don't see this being a romantic relationship.
it's
Are you okay?
clarity.
And that's it.
Mhm,
Because I would rather have someone tell me, hey, you're great. I like you, but I don't want to see you again like that than them just kind of like ghost and disappear. Because
mm,
when you ghost on someone, first off, you feel like shit because you've kind of like, you've been a little, what's the word here? Irresponsible, I would say, in a little bit. And then also, so you're feeling a bit of guilt and shame because you ghosted on someone, or you're blowing them off. They keep messaging you, you keep making excuses, and that's draining. And for the person who gets ghosted on or left without any sort of clarity, they're like, well, what the hell happened? We had such a good time. We were laughing. Like he's hot. I'm hot. Like, why? I don't get it. Like, is there something wrong with me? What am I doing? Like
mm,
there's at least the opportunity to bring closure to it. And then again, that for women helps reaffirm that they can trust men and that men can be open about, like, men can actually be open and communicate. And
mm,
one of the things that I'm not proud of, but in my wild single years, yeah, there were times I'd go out with women, we'd sleep together and maybe sleep together a couple of times, and then I'd just kind of like drift off. And I can see how that behavior, and not to say that women don't do it either, but that behavior that men do over and over again breaks that trust for women over and over to the point where they now just put up a wall. And now
mm,
women are like, you know what? Yeah, I'm on dating apps just for the free meals. I don't give a shit. I'll go out to a nice dinner. I'll take the free meal. I won't see the guy again, but that's okay because you know what? I had 10 guys do that to me before. So screw them. I'm going to do it now.
Mm.
So now women are using dating apps as Uber Eats or
I
as,
didn't know this.
yeah,
I have an opportunity here.
there are a lot of women, especially in Miami, because restaurants are expensive in Miami. There's a lot of women out in Miami who, and again, it happens everywhere. I'm not, judging or, you know, um, being derogatory about it by any means, but there are women who use dating apps as just a way to get free dinners, and it's just payback for all the times that guys,
Ooh,
them, but in a different
that doesn't sound like a fun way to live to me. I feel like just I'm not trying to be judgy. I can empathize with it, and I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of
Yeah, if you're
icky
26 years
energy.
old living in Miami, you want to dine out, eat in the fancy restaurants or whatever, and you can't afford them, and you need content for your Instagram, yeah, that's happening. Yeah, not to say I'm dating 26-year-old women, but I've just heard them through, and I mean, and it happens. I'm sure everyone.
Let's get really real here. Teasing. Okay. So you would consider yourself a masculine, grounded, conscious man, yes?
I would say so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I just had to put that out there.
Mhm.
What are you looking for then? What does a queen look like to you?
Yeah, thank you. So, hold on, let me pull up my list here. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I mean, first and foremost, someone who's doing the work. Someone who is secure with who they are. They are connected to their heart. They are connected to their higher self. They are considerate and compassionate towards themselves and to others. They are in integrity, in all aspects of their life. They're taking care of their health. They're taking care of their relationships. They're taking care of their spirit. For me, because my work is really dedicated to supporting and helping others, I need a woman who supports my mission, who understands my purpose, and is okay to let me do what I need to do to really show up in my full power because I'm here to change the world, and I need my queen next to me to make that happen. For me to really rise to my full king status, I need my queen. I know I can only go so far on my own. And um, I want family. I want kids. So someone who is wanting to be a mother and someone who respects and honors the values of family is super important to me because I want to create a different family dynamic. I want to break the pattern of my um, parents and grandparents and whatnot. So that's very important to me. Someone who likes to have fun and dance and get dressed up and like I like the bougie shit still. I like staying in nice hotels, driving fancy cars. I want someone who can walk in both worlds, the materialistic and the spiritual conscious world. And of course, first and foremost, the chemistry, the chemistry, the passion, the attraction, that is that's absolutely essential, of course. So in many ways, I want someone who is my equal. Someone who wakes up every day and asks, "How can I be a better person today? How can I grow and learn and expand? How can I have some fun? How can I make a difference?" And that is really what it is that I'm looking for. And the challenge that I find is that the level of consciousness and characteristics I want don't necessarily align with the aesthetic that I want. And I'll be totally open and say that, for me, aesthetics is very, very important. Coming from my background, having dated very attractive, beautiful women, surrounded by many, many beautiful women all the time, my definition, my perspective of what is attractive to me is high. And part of why I'm going through this 6 months of celibacy right now and practicing the feminine cleanse is because I want to reset that. I want to fall in love with someone's energy. I want to allow myself to connect to the feminine, not just based on how she looks, how she dresses or what her body looks like, but more so her true feminine essence is what is important to me. Because ultimately, you can be with a supermodel. After a year or two, it's like, okay, yeah, they're very attractive. Okay, great. What else? Like, what is beyond that? So that is my own journey and my work to do. And I have met very attractive women who are also spiritual and conscious and very much what it is that I'm looking for. And I can still see that there are those blockages and there are those old stories and beliefs that still exist within me that I have yet to shed. But I'm aware of them and I'm intentionally working to release them. Um, and as they say, knowing is half the battle, right? So yeah, I would say that would be that would pretty well describe the goddess.
That is the goddess list, if
Yeah.
I've ever heard one.
And I know some. I see them. They're out there. Unfortunately, well, they're in partnerships or marriages already. So I do know they exist. But yeah, I would say in many ways I am looking for a freaking unicorn, But that's also because in many ways I considered myself to be my own version of a unicorn. I've worked
I
very hard.
wonder if
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. I'm keep interrupting. I'm wondering if like everybody feels that way because I feel like that's a common sentiment of like what I'm looking for. I just shared it was one of the episodes I just posted, but I just shared this idea of like I feel like I'm asking a lot of the universe in a future partner and in my life. I've been telling myself this story like you're really asking for a lot.
Mhm.
And then I every once in a while I get this kind of nudge to just like write and I feel like what I write isn't always from me. And
Mhm.
what came out was, well, what if the truth was the universe was asking a lot of you? And what if the desires that you have are actually divinely placed? What
Mhm.
if I didn't make up those desires? What if I'm a co-creator, co-conspirator with the universe and so I'm not asking too much. I'm not looking for a unicorn. The universe has like put those desires there. And that has been, I don't know if that's true or not. We'll see. But I feel like it's been a freeing thought to have, I guess, or a freeing perspective that maybe I'm not like creating something that I'm chasing that is impossible to find,
Mhm. Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
freeing.
Yeah.
You do have quite a list though. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the feminine cleanse because nobody that's listening is going to be like, "What is this feminine cleanse?" Can you tell us what it is and why you're doing this?
So I'm not sure who exactly created, but John Wineland speaks of it. There's a video on his blog where he explains what the feminine cleanse is. So it is a minimum of 6 months of celibacy. A year is recommended, so 6 months to a year. They say you don't even start to feel the results or impact of it till at least 3 months. So it's not just celibacy, refraining from sex, um, masturbation, obviously porn, anything that gives you a dopamine hit from the feminine is to be cut out. So, for example, I was probably following 200 to 300 really beautiful women on Instagram, and you know, the the algorithm will keep feeding you or putting what you watch in your feed. So I intentionally removed actually about 1,200 people from my Instagram. And a lot of them were just beautiful women that I just started to follow along the way. I had conversations with women that, I was texting and chatting with, just letting them know, like, look, I won't be in contact for the next 6 months because I'm practicing celibacy and a feminine cleanse. And I'm not going to put time and energy into any non-platonic relationships. So being clear and communicating to any women that you have any entanglement with is necessary. Essentially, spending a lot of time alone in nature, allowing yourself to tap into the feminine essence within you. So I've rented this country home 2 hours north of Toronto for 4 months. Every morning I'm playing classical music. I've got my incense. I've bought beautiful flowers, big plants. Like I'm hiking in nature. I'm connecting to the feminine elements that exist around me so I can connect to those feminine elements within me. Um, Not allowing yourself to get distracted. For example, you go to the Starbucks and you're a cafe and you order coffee and the barista is kind of cute. You notice yourself kind of lingering and being extra chatty. It's like, no, tall blonde, one sugar, oat milk, thank you, goodbye. Like cutting out.
I am a cold-hearted bitch these days.
No, but it's just about being not like, because for as men and women we do this, but I notice how, and again, this is part of how I developed my confidence, not fitting in as in my younger years, when I could be charming and dress well and have a fit body. These are all ways I get the attention from the feminine, and I don't have a problem meeting women. I don't have a problem attracting women. I have a problem keeping women and going deeper with them. So something in the way of my being, of my interactions with women, works and doesn't work. It works in the short term, it doesn't work in the long term. There are things I do, a perspective I have, ways I communicate that have served me in many ways to a certain point in my life, but aren't going to allow me to create the relationship and have the life that I truly desire. So it's about really cleansing and taking a step back and noticing all the ways we look for the female validation, that we want that feminine dopamine hit, and catching myself over and over again, noticing, like, I hosted an event a few weeks ago and I would see what part of the room I was gravitating to. And I was like, oh, no wonder there's a bunch of hot girls over here. Like naturally we do things that we're actually unconscious to because we've been that way for so long. So through this cleanse, even though it's only been almost 6 weeks, I'm catching myself over and over again. And now it's getting to a point where I'm starting to wanting to text, wanting to reach out, like it's literally like kicking a habit, whether it be drugs, alcohol,
It's
porn,
detox. Yeah.
whatever it is. And a friend of mine who inspired me to do this cleanse, he's into it 8 months. He said the first 3 months is just getting clean. The next 3 to 6 months is getting sober. So it's like an alcoholic. You can say, yeah, I cut out alcohol, and you cut out alcohol for 3 months. That's easy. But can you cut it out for good? Like, can you now live your life having a drink here and there, but never falling back into alcoholism? And some people never can. They need to be dry for the rest of their life. But then some people, after a year of being clean and sober, they can have a glass of wine every now and then. So for me, obviously, it may sound counterintuitive that I want to find my partner, I want to get married, so I'm not having sex or dating for 6 months. But the thing is
or maybe ever, apparently, if you get you slip back out.
so for me to, let's say, cleanse my energy, for me to really let go of ways of being that don't serve this relationship I want to create, I have to detox and let go and release all the things I've been doing over the last 30-ish years that have that I've developed as my way of interacting with women. So it is. I'm not going to say it's been challenging, because when I commit to something, I'm very disciplined and focused. Mind you, it's only been almost 6 weeks, and I am out in nature. I'm sure if I was in Toronto or Miami, it'd be a very different situation. But that's kind of why I came here instead of going back to Miami, because I knew this is where I need to be in order to really give this 100%. So yeah, that's a little bit about the feminine cleanse. But if you want to know more about it, Google John Wineland feminine cleanse. The great video that explains it for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for being so open. I feel like you're sharing pieces that just people don't talk about, right? But I'm like, it's really real. And so much of it is at a subconscious level. I think one of the past conversations we had, you had mentioned the gym, and when I'm at the gym in the morning, and I've been noting to myself oh yeah, there are moments that I'm kind of noticing, am I being noticed? And it's
Yeah.
if I just put a bag on and went to the gym, it'd be a different experience, right? If I was just no, I'm not gonna because what am I really looking for? Like nothing ever comes of that anyways. It's just like you said, these little dopamine sort of hits or whatever. So I really appreciate your transparency with it because it's just stuff people don't really talk about, but it's real.
It is real. And, most of the people who I've talked to about it, they'd be like, wow, I think I need to do that also. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to do a masculine cleanse. I'm like, well, if you think you do, then you do. Because I first heard about this 8 months ago. I'm like, right away, I was like, ooh,
Like that one
I'm
hurts.
like, but shit, summer's coming. I'm going to Miami. I'm going to be traveling. Bad timing. But then what really broke the straw for me is in September, I was in Tulum and I did something the old Zark would do. And in doing that, I said, wow, after all this coaching, after all the work, I just did something the old version of me would do. And that's not
Mm.
acceptable. And I called up my buddy. I said, I'm ready to do the cleanse. So I started October 1st. And yeah, it's going to be a journey.
Do you
Yeah.
have like a chain link that you created, with construction paper? You're like taking it off one day at a time, like a
No,
countdown to 6 months? No.
no, but I have a pretty epic travel plan starting April. Actually, what's going to be really hard is the month of March. I'm spending 3 weeks in Medellin, Colombia, and
Mm.
I think Colombian women are pretty attractive. So it might be like the worst place I can be, but I'm going for a wedding and then staying for a couple of weeks to check out the city. So yeah, it's easy to be on the cleanse when you're up in Collingwood by yourself with your dog, far from everyone. But yeah, I think March in Colombia
I'll
might.
send you good vibes. I will be wishing you luck. Like, just wear blinders.
I think by March I'm going to be so like dialed in and focused. It's gonna be awesome.
So
And the
centered
one
and zen.
thing as well is like when you're not looking for it, that's when you find it. And also when a man is grounded, focused, not distracted, he's present. That's when a woman finds him most attractive. And what I could say is like the last 3 years, I've really been looking for it. I've been looking for it on dating apps. I've been looking for it in the restaurants. I've been looking for it, at the gym. And I'm tired of looking for it. I want to attract it. And in order to attract it, I have to become the one. And that's what I'm doing. I am doing my work to become the one, to become, that there's a woman out there who's describing her man and who her king is. And I am him. I am becoming him, and I will meet her when we're both ready. Yeah.
Yeah, when this episode gets out there are going to be plenty of women lined up. She's like, but he's my one. There's going to be just so many women like, how can he be yours? He's mine. Okay, I have one last. I know we're like at time, but one question that I saw online from a feminine embodiment coach that I thought was really interesting was, as a masculine man, when do you find a woman powerful in a way that is like attractive to masculine energy? What does power in a feminine woman actually look like?
So I have many of my close girlfriends are mothers, and some are single moms. And when I see a woman being a mother and being supportive and loving, but then also handling her shit, like um, being able to balance the masculine and the feminine, where yes, she can be a mother and loving and nurturing and also dance and be artistic, but also she has a level of structure and groundedness to her. That yin and yang balance, I think, is really powerful because often it's too much on either side. So I feel that is very attractive when a woman has her shit together, but she can also surrender and let go. Um, yeah, I would say when a woman is really in her divine feminine, really flowing and able to open up, but at the same time hold her boundaries, I really respect that. I appreciate it.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's not what I expected. I don't know, think I had an expectation, but I think that's really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's also times where a woman has been very clear with her communication and also said what she wanted, and has told me what she didn't like and has given me really valuable feedback and even criticism. I'd
Mhm.
be like, wow, thank you for that. And said it in a
There's
loving way. Yeah.
mhm. There's something I feel like I'm coming to believe, like, specifically in intimate relationships, that the feminine is like an oracle. I
Hmm.
just think that there's that I think it's been sort of historically seen, and even in spiritual work, that the man is the leader. Well, what does it mean for him to lead? But also, I do think there's this like exchange that happens when both are connected to divine, in particular, where a woman can see things
Hmm.
that are meant to um, propel,
Hmm.
uplift, exhort, pull out, like, and so I think that's super powerful. I think that there's also a lot of power in um, a woman's words that create. I mean, the feminine is creation, and so there's so much power in the words that she could speak to her man too.
Hmm.
That births things in him. Even I don't. I'm
Yeah.
not. It's hard to kind of put it into words, but yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke to that earlier. Like I said, I do know of these unicorn goddesses that exist, and a lot of them are like I see it in some of my friends' wives or some of these coaches that I'm friends with, the people who are very successful. I see their dynamic, and I know that he is able to be that successful because he's got a powerful wife behind him who is making sure that his life, their lives, work. He's out there doing his thing, living his purpose, making his money, changing lives,
Mhm.
and he's got an amazing woman behind him that allows him to thrive at that level. And some may say, well, oh, whoa, so what? Powerful means a woman at home with the kids. It's like, no, there's so much more to that. I mean, a woman is so much more powerful than a man, where she creates life.
Mhm.
Like, without women, we are screwed. And
Or not.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's why they like that balance, that power that a woman has to be able to be loving and nurturing, but also be, you know, the rock behind the man. That's power. And I
Mhm.
believe a man can only go so far on his own, and you can reach great, great success on your own, no doubt. But when you have that queen who's there, you know, to support you, to keep you uh, nourished in every way, that's sacred union. That is a power couple.
Mhm. A new power couple definition. I like it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
It's not a battle for power. It's about having a shared vision and knowing that both play a very important role uh, in their own powerful way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we should wrap. We could talk for a
Yeah.
long time. I have like 14 questions I didn't ask you.
Well, we'd have to do a part two sometime. Or
Okay. So, Zarek, if people are looking for more information, if they want to coach with you or get resources, where can they find you?
yeah. So my website, zarakfatah.com, my Instagram at Zarak Fatah. I host retreats. I work with both men and women, either one on one, and also in a group coaching program I'm launching in January. People can join in any time. And, really, my mission is just to help people to heal what they're holding on to from the past, really take their life to the next level. And I am a true life transformation coach. That's my jam. I help people transform their lives in every way because, as I said in the beginning of this podcast, your relationship, your marriage, your business, how are you supposed to know what you're going to create in your life and in the world if you don't really know who you are? And you don't know who you are until you've healed the stuff from the past. So that's
Mm.
what I help people do, just rise up to be their most authentic, powerful self.
Thank you so much for being here today and for your time. I feel really just honored and thankful for the opportunity to chat with you and get to know you and get in your head a little bit and inside the mind of a conscious man. I think that might have to be the title of the episode. So
and in the heart.
Yes,
And in the
yes,
heart. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Zarak.
Thank you for having me. Great seeing you.